Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining us for our half-year shareholder update. We're really excited to have you join us. For those of you that have checked our press releases this morning, I know you're probably getting this mix of emotion between frustration because it's still an NDA and probably not as much as me, but excitement because it's something great and something that we've been working on for a really long time. So Simon and I are actually going to walk you through our first half-year update, and then I'm going to go into some detail around that as much as I can. So to start off, in January of this year, we issued out our first scorecard on the business. And in there, you would have found about 6 points of things that we had accomplished, things that we wanted to accomplish, and what we looked at when we thought about shareholder value. Then on May 10th, when we released our financials, we provided an update to their scorecard and a few additional things that we had accomplished that exceeded what we thought we were going to do when we came into the year in January. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually bring it back one step for you. I'm going to talk a little bit about the strategy of the company, which I don't think we've done a lot of on these live streams. So I'm going to do it as a reflection of the first half of the year. And I'm going to tie it to some of our core pillars. So today, Simon and I are standing in our Calgary Innovation Center. You can kind of catch behind us some of the decals on the wall as we look to share with our employees our DNA of innovation, but disciplined innovation. And that means, how do we get to production? How do we get to that big R word that you all want us to be using in making revenue? So as I think to that first half year, the pillars I'm going to tie to are, we want to be able to produce our start of production. And I see a lot of dates flying around. So start of production has always been Q3. We're going to talk about what that means for Exro. We're going to talk about whether we're on track or not on track. We're going to talk about why we think we're on track. So as we think about the first half of the year, the goals that we put out at the beginning of the year were that we'd have our low voltage drive on track for start of production in late September of this year, the end of the third quarter. We'd have our high voltage drive on track for kind of mid fourth quarter, and we'd have our cell driver product on track. Initially, we had started at a Q2 delivery. In May, we updated you all to say that would actually be in Q3, as we'd seen some delays with UL. So I'm going to just kind of start with that. That's everything that covers our start of production for the products that you know today. Remember, we are a technology company, so what we have today is going to be amplified as we go into our future and think about how we take our patent applications and turn them into new streams. So I'm going to go ahead and talk with Simon, because he's kind of that day-to-day for everything that is running in the operations of the business. So Simon, let's start with our low voltage drive. On one of our live streams, you actually had a low voltage drive and had the gloves in there. Yeah. So tell me, what would you want shareholders to know for, first, let's start high level. All of our drives and our coil drive, our cell driver.
Yeah, so to answer your question, Sue, everything is on track. Everything that you've communicated is still in place. We actually have the low voltage drives in stock, low numbers, but we are in production and they're available, ready to ship to customers who require them. Our high voltage drives, we have, again, a low number in stock that are built and available. And we're, as I say, I just can't express how excited I am that everything is still on track exactly as you'll be communicating it to the world out there.
Thank you. And so I'm going to kind of take a couple of those questions, and most of you know it is live today, so it's not pre-recorded and edited. So let's kind of break it down into three categories. The three categories I'm going to break it into, we're talking about production right now, is low voltage, high voltage, cell driver. Easiest way for everybody that knows the story, or people that are new and watching us today and checking us out and wondering, is we do motor control, low voltage, a motorcycle or a bicycle, high voltage, a passenger vehicle or a bus, and then cell driver, energy storage, so that whole circular economy when we think about electrification. So as I think to that low voltage drive, and we've got a few on the shelf, before anybody asks, we have a few on the shelf because once Simon builds them and makes sure that they meet all of our quality standards and the quality standards of the customers, we still have to go integrate with a customer. We're not making a drop-in product of old technology. This is not your standard three-phase drive. That means that right now in this stage of the company, we've always talked about that, our teams have to commission, start up, support, and train a customer to be able to show them that this drive is going to work and exceed the performance that they see in the market today. So there's a planning process that goes with it, which Simon, myself, Eric, Daryl, John are all working on. And then we'll get to battery storage. So on the low voltage drive, tell me, what has been kind of the biggest challenge that you've overcome to get us to production? And getting to production is a big deal.
Yeah.
It's not just a proof of concept that's ready to go. There's a whole bunch. A lot of companies fail at this stage.
Yeah.
So what makes you feel confident in that?
The biggest challenge basically is being to secure our supply chain, which we have worked really, really hard to do. We have everything in place with our supply chain. All our suppliers are now able to commit to delivering against our manufacturing schedules. We've worked really closely with our approved contract manufacturer. We have sort of, I would say, supported them and helped them through. They have supported us and helped us through the startup process. Everything is now, as I said earlier, in place. The main focus point has been quality. Absolutely. Our product is high quality. Our manufacturing facility is high quality. Our contract manufacturing facility is also high quality. Our quality is the benchmark from which we will take it to the next level. Bring everything in-house with the correct sort of partner, and take it basically forward from ISO 9001, which is where we are today, to TS 16949, which is the full automotive standard.
Excellent. And so from a high voltage perspective, I'm not going to ask the exact same question because it's going to be the same answer, really. And so as we think about the high voltage and delivery, again, remember, we're building a drive that matches or pairs with a motor in most cases. So that means that we're going through tests on the motor side, not that the drive isn't performing as we want. So those are all the stages. Then we integrate into the vehicle. So from an overall perspective, if we think about that kind of journey to get to production, and then to get to automotive production, because you've taught me as you've been here with me for the last several years, it's not the same thing. So coming from an industrial world, getting to production is one thing. Getting to automotive production is an exponentially harder thing. So we didn't just start yesterday. So over the last few years that you've been with the company, kind of tell me that journey from like setup, greenfield design through to ISO and what's coming next in our roadmap.
From day one, when we first met Sue, the objective has always been to target automotive production. It's something that I have lived for the last 15 to 18 years in previous employments. It is something that Eric, the CTO, has lived as well for that same amount of period. Eric and I have worked together on automotive products 15, 20 years now. It doesn't phase Eric, it doesn't phase me. And we have been instilling those principles in all of our staff so that the guys out on the line there now are thinking the automotive way.
Okay, so from a startup production perspective, we have contract manufacturers lined up, ready to go. Already ran our first samples. Samples here ready to go as we wait on kind of these other pieces. That's why it started production in the coming months. Our SMT line is on track.
Correct.
Commissioning ongoing, like we've shared and showed you all through our videos. High voltage, same thing, contract manufacturer in place, supply chain in place. This is a big deal, actually. Supply chain in place, I can tell you, we talk about it simply, but some of our parts have really long deliveries, in excess of 20+ week delivery. So Simon and the team have really been focusing in on our supplier relationships. Our cell driver energy storage unit, as everybody knows, or if you haven't checked, there's press releases in the past several months. Again, this is a first half-year review that we'll share with you that our contract manufacturer on cell driver is Rebuild. Simon, you've worked a lot with Rebuild. How's that been going so far?
It's a really, really good business relationship. Rebuild have supported us in many, many ways. We have supported Rebuild in return, and the business relationship is really, really good. Rebuild come here, support us, learn what we want to do. We sort of build product hand in hand. They take that information away, take it back to their facility, and then they implement the same policies and procedures about quality back in their facility. So it's a really, really good, strong partnership.
Excellent. So if we were going to sum up that first pillar, that production, our ability to produce, would you say on track?
Totally. In
Excellent.
fact, I'd go further and say slightly ahead of schedule.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. Okay, so pillar number 2, we got to fill this factory. We got to build our backlog, our word right after backlog. First thing is take in that demand. So one of the things I've learned over the last year or even over the last 3.5 years is, as hard as we think it's going to be, it's 10 times harder.
Yeah.
And I get asked a lot about what's the difference between corporate to startup. And, 3 years ago, I was a corporate CEO versus a startup CEO. So I'm a lot smarter now on how we make sure that we time things better. We'll still have misses. It's the reality of what we do. But misses don't mean cancellations. Timing is the hardest thing we face as a team. Knowing if it's 1 day, 2 day, 5 days a month is the hardest thing we face as a team. Mainly because we have a lot of things outside of our control. So as you heard Simon say, we've got this excellent process in place. We've got operations under control, supply chain under control. That doesn't mean that something doesn't get lost in shipping, or a part that we need that doesn't come in on time, or that means that we mitigate all of that to do our best to let you know those times. So building our demand, orders. So we had committed at the beginning of the year and again in May that with start of production on track, we would be progressing our deals to orders. That remains on track. It was targeted for second half of this year. That remains on track. All of our partners remain strong partners with us. All of our partnerships, while we've had slight delays here and there, all of our partners are engaged and excited to get the product and be able to take a product that doesn't just change our situation, doesn't just move us and progress us as a company, it changes their situation. We're looking at an industry that's still in its infancy. So as I walk through trade shows and I see electric commercial trucks or passenger vehicles, everything looks the same because the guts inside are all the same. So Coil Driver is the differentiator for all of these companies. So from our partner out in Italy, HB4, you all know that I'm going out to Italy for my last one. So they're one of the partners. I'm excited to go spend time with Renato, their CEO, and really look at how we amplify our business and partnership together. We have our NDA1, which is our low voltage NDA out in Europe, $12 billion account, progressing well. Simon's got the team organized to go out there and do the commissioning before the end of this quarter. So we'll hope, we're optimistic that we're going to be sharing some results with you within the next half of this year. Our NDA2 is on our high voltage. We're supposed to be testing in Q3. It's on track. We're waiting on that motor to arrive.
Correct.
So dyno bays are all set up.
Dyno bays are all set up.
Nice, safe environment for our test engineers. Our engineers are excited to get the products out on the road. Our integrations with C Electric, Vicinity, our NDA under Brazil are on track for delivery starting a couple weeks next month.
First week of August for the first one, and then the schedule just runs forward.
And then these are designed to manufacture. These are not designed, these are not the proof of concept drives. These are pilot, designed to manufacture. What we're piloting is how we talk with their equipment, how we talk with that vehicle, how we perform in the real world. Trucks are at our EVS team down in Detroit. Justin and his team are engaged with all our integrations. It's been going fantastic. Again, tying back to what we've talked about in the first half of this year, our services contracts with major tier one actually are also exceeding our expectations. You'll see that in our numbers as we report out our financials. We've got some nice services work, nothing that I'm jumping up and down on. I know what you all want. Nice stability that we're building, and we have a lot of demand for that services work. The C-Truck, the Vicinity bus are down in Detroit. I went out, visited, up on the hoist, getting done, up on the lifts, sorry. And so from a partnership perspective, we feel really great. You all know that just about a month ago, we signed the definitive agreement with Linamar. That continues to progress as well. The teams were together a couple of times this month, kind of negotiating through what the next stages look like of the partnership. We continue to be thankful for our partnership with Linamar, as they've been fantastic partners for us. And as a tier one, we think they've really exceeded expectations as far as being interested in next generation innovation. So we're really happy about that. We have our partnership with Wolong, where we're supposed to be testing in Q4.
On track.
Motor placed.
Motor placed, orders placed, specifications shared. Eric is just fine-tuning a couple of points. Motor will be delivered on time. Everything's on track.
Dyno slots are ready. We're good to go. It sounds like a lot. It is a lot. We're working a lot of pieces every single day, and we're trying to bring the most value that we can in appreciation for all your support of us. And I'm not dragging it out. I'm just super excited to get to the next point. And this morning we announced our partnership with a global automotive OEM. And there's nothing I wanted more than to have a different name that you'd all recognize and be excited about as we are. But the reality, as we continue to tell you, is that this is a super competitive space that we're entering. And we're disrupting, as much as I hate to use that word, it's the true word here. We're disrupting the technology of electric vehicles. And when you talk to Eric, our CTO, who you're all getting to know, and he'll be on my next one, he'd tell you that we're going to have that vehicle was sold. And so if you think about the things that we've talked about recently, what we've really been saying is that when we work with that passenger vehicle, automotive, global brand, what we wanted to work with is a partner that really saw the technology for the core of what we are, and really saw the technology as something that could differentiate and create a passenger vehicle that you don't see today. Something that drove that continuous torque, something that made you be able to drive that highway and be efficient, something that made you rethink how we charge our vehicles. And so that entire picture of everything that Eric designed in 2020 when he joined our company, that's what's been taking us so long. We've been working and working and working to see it. So again, I know it's frustrating and I know it's long, but we just heard Simon talk about automotive. So before I talk about a little bit more, I can only tell you a little bit more. What I'm going to say is it's hard. When you go from non-automotive to automotive, automotive means, first of all, passenger vehicle, commercial truck, motorcycle.
Yep.
What's automotive mean?
Automotive is, yeah, like you just said, it's people sitting in, it means safety. Everything has to be approved. There's set processes. You can't just build something and ship it. You have to go through validation steps. There are so many stages. And from concept, normally to a first prototype, is about 2 years, which is where we are. Then the actual customer wants the part, stick it in a vehicle, develop it, test it. It's normally a 5-year cycle. So if you look at the bigger picture and you look at where you brought Eric on board and where we are now, we are again on track with getting that part finished, validated, and released.
So this is where we think a little bit about the strategy. Before we talk about, I can't talk to specifics. This is where we talk about the strategy. So think about the strategy. We need to prove the concept. And so the proof of concept was where we won our first awards with Edison, where we were able to demonstrate a third-party validation with AVL, where it took us years to get that combination of hardware, software, heat control, thermal control, harmonic control, noise. Took us a long time to get there. Once we got through that, then we wanted to demonstrate scalability. And that was a big piece for Eric. How do we do scalability? Not because we want to be chasing a shiny ball and going through 10 things, because when we get to manufacturing, again, Simon and Eric have worked together for over 15 years. When we want to pass that design to manufacturing, that's where it gets hard for companies, startup companies especially, emerging growth company like us even more. So what Simon has to be able to do is every single part, every single bolt has to be traceable, has to produce quality, has to be manufacturable. We thought about that 2 years ago. And so we created it so that we can essentially go up and down in our facility, our flexible automation line. We can, easily, Eric won't love it that I said that, but easily design that scale. So when we looked to our first passenger vehicle, we knew that what we had to do was make sure that we had the data points that could support what we do in simulations, what we do in real world, what was on the road. So we simulated data that showed that our simulations come in less than 5% accuracy on our test bench. That's one piece. We have third-party validations with AVL. Then we tested out at UTech in Detroit, and we're able to demonstrate pretty impactful increases, and you can check those press releases on our torque ability and our efficiency capabilities. Behind the scenes, what we're doing is simulating data packs for these customers that show what we can do from efficiency, that's your range, what we can do in different driving conditions, like an EPA road test or others, and how we impact the total cost of ownership for our customers. So we can drive down mechanical components, whether that's a gearbox, an onboard charger, a smaller motor. The other thing that does, essentially, we're a clean tech company. And so we really do believe in how do we make for a better world. And so when we're doing that reduction, we're also reducing the impact of the rare earth metals. Depending on the optimization of a customer, we could reduce down the motor size, meaning you're using less of those metals. Or we could use things like an induction motor is what it's called, where you use no rare earth metals. So we had those simulations ready to go. So as we think about all the work that prepped us and all the demand that continues to overwhelm us, what we learned, what I learned, what the team learned is we have to pick carefully. We don't need to prove that we can do this anymore. Our tech works. What we need to prove is how we get it to market and how we make that revenue and how we pick the right customers. So today, I'm super excited because not only did Eric win a great deal for us, our marketing team behind the scenes helped us to bring in a lead through building our brand. We are becoming a recognized brand. Our data shows it, our marketing statistics show it, and this automotive partnership shows it for us. We have the right person to be able to build when we get through this end of 24 is when it's dated in the press release. When we get through those gates, as Eric hands off a design and we work through all that validation, when we reach that next step, Simon has the experience to do automotive. And what's the one difference with automotive manufacturing?
Quality. Quality, 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 everywhere.
And it takes years to get there. We're going to be ready to go. We've already got ISO. We are already working through our way to IATF.
Right.
We've got all our engineers doing their, I can't remember the name of the training, Simon.
AD training, APQP training, all the great stuff that comes with automotive requirements.
So as you think about this partnership today, I encourage you not to get lost in the fact that it says NDA and to instead focus on the fact that we executed exactly the way we said we were going to. We're going to continue to execute on the deliverables. We're very thankful to our global OEM partner. It was a competitive process for us, and they were innovative, and they're exactly the type of partner that we want to see and exactly the type of vehicle that I will drive one day with a Coil Driver inside. So as you think about our pillars, we've got our production, we're building our backlog, short term and long term. We're building our way up to what will be a market share leader company in the future. Every vehicle, from a motorcycle to a bus, as Eric says, will be better with a Coil Driver inside.
Yep.
But we don't want to forget our other child. We've got a cell driver, so I'm going to give you a little bit of update on a cell driver. In the past 6 months, we've let you know about our first partner, Inferno, out of Canada. Our second partner was Green Tech, which covers Southwest US with over 80 offices. And then we have a few more names that were joined after that. What I want you to think about with all the distributors is the first step in parallel to getting the certification from UL and Simon making sure that it's all built. Spiros and the team is making sure that we have our commercial plan. And what we're doing there is training all of our channel partners so that when the product is ready to go, we can hit the market. We can start taking orders. We can start putting out product and do everything that you're waiting for us to do. So that's all on track. Again, demand is overwhelming. Energy storage is very big. We're focused on a great market with commercial industrial. So I'm really excited and looking forward to sharing more with you as we get through the next UL certifications, testing, our first pilots. We are very optimistic that we're going to get that on time. Our commitment was to have a first pilot the second half of this year. We're on track for that, hopefully a little bit earlier, but we're on track for that. So every day is pretty exciting for us right now. Every day we wake up and there's something exciting happening, just like this project that we've announced this morning. And to do all of that, to get to start of production, to be able to support our customers, both with financial strength that lets them know that we're going to be here in 5 years, because that's what automotive looks at. Are we going to be able to sign a 5-year contract? Is Simon going to be able to yield the product?
Yep.
Those are things we look at. We have a strong financial backing. So as we look to our partnerships with Linamar and now with this global OEM, they're looking at what our bank account looks like. So as you look to our last raise, while I'm still very excited about having the largest clean tech deal in Canada so far this year, we were thinking about all of that when we did our deal. We were thinking about making sure that our bank account was strong in case this came across the finish line like we all thought it would. And so our financial backing is strong. We have the tech, we have the people, we have the supply chain, we have a strong backing to get it done. So my first half year with Simon, sum up our first half a year in less than 5 words.
Really, really exciting and really, really challenging. No, more than 5 words.
More than
sorry.
5 words.
Yeah, but there you go.
On track.
Yep.
As planned. Excited to see what tomorrow brings. Thank you very much for your support today. Thank you very much for being a shareholder of Exro. If you're new to the story and you want to know more, please reach out on the website to our IR team. Thank you to all of the employees at Exro, because every one of you played a part in making it happen. And thank you to our new board of directors as we had our first meeting. It's been great welcoming you into Exro, and as the CEO of Exro, I'm very excited about the next stage of our growth. Have a great weekend, everybody. Thank you, Simon.
Thank you. Thank you, Sue.